July the 1st is now in everybody's mind as the date of resumption of flying from Dublin Airport. June the 15th is D-Day. It's when Europe unlocks, opens its borders. A couple of setbacks to that plan over the weekend, but it is clear from Pedro Sanchez in Spain that when he talks about extending the state of emergency, he's talking about Madrid and he's not talking about those holiday regions that are opening up, mainly Lanzarote and Fuerteventura, Gran Canaria and Tenerife, not far behind them, the Balearics, those beautiful coastal villages around Malaga and also Costa Dorada. Portugal is going through the phases.
People will have to book in advance. Restaurants for beaches, they will be open, but you will have a sign that will tell you the level of occupancy.
The staff in restaurants will be wearing masks. The customers are not required to do so. Social distancing at some level is required by those countries that are opening up. But after June the 15th, it's clear most of Europe will be open.
So it's very interesting because we are working on a digital frictionless experience in Spain regarding this reboot of green reset of tourism. And we are investing a lot in technology and infrastructure to apply permanent physical distancing measures.
And very likely the 14-day quarantine period, which has been the subject of some debate over the last week, fuelled largely by Michael O'Leary, will have been lifted.
The government should have done was to start with effective measures, and that is face and temperature controls on arriving passengers, not ineffective measures like 2-week lockdowns, which most people will ignore anyway.
There are reports that on June the 30th, the impediments to international travel will all have been removed on the Irish side. And then the resumption dates kick in. The most significant is July the 1st. It's Ryanair's 1,000 flights a day. A considerable timetable from Dublin and Cork has been loaded into that schedule. July the 2nd, we see Air Canada resume to Toronto. On July the 8th, we see Chicago returning with American. And on July the 1st, Etihad determined to fly. Emirates coming back with the decision, very likely they will be opening on that date. And Turkish, 3 flights a week, starting July the 1st. Lufthansa resumed Frankfurt 5 times weekly, with full flights yesterday. And Zurich is due to return twice weekly. Some of the flights have already resumed. Aer Lingus continue to fly Boston, Chicago and New York. Throughout all of this. And they have a limited skeleton service to Britain and one European destination, Amsterdam. Ryanair, also a skeleton service. And from the Garda Síochána, if you're driving to Dublin Airport, all they require is evidence of a booking.
I rang the Garda station in Cork to fly out of Dublin to America. She was so good, she said, well, sir, if you have a ticket or a booking form and you produce it if you're stopped to the Garda, they'll wave you through. There's no 5 kilometre or 20 kilometre when you have proof of travel.
We need a little bit of excitement because we've had none, I can tell you, Owen. But yeah, so Michael's statement from Ryanair was very helpful, and even the fact he's put down statistics of hoping to get 40% travelling. So that's really good. But what I liked the most, Owen, was from both Aer Lingus and Ryanair is their videos on safety and how safe the air is and how much it's circulated.
Those videos about the changed world that have been uploaded by most airlines over the last week, notably in our case, Ryanair and Aer Lingus, all stress online check-in. This is an option for July, not at the moment, where the check-in desk has to go through documentation. Passengers are not allowed into Germany until June the 15th. So if you are flying to Frankfurt, you need evidence of onward connection, as a lot of these are repatriation flights, people who have been waiting to return to their home country. This means extra time at the airport, up to an hour and a half extra. And in July, that will likely continue. Terms and conditions of the credit note have now been released to travel agents.
See that there's a good time span on what they call the refund credit note, the actual instrument.
The refunding hasn't gone. People still have to get back the money. You'll be waiting for several months before you'll be sending out the credit note with all the ingredients of what the person is owed.
We've been told by certain airlines that, yeah, you will get refunded, but it'll be at the end of COVID-19, which is when.
Overall, I'm happy with it because it recognises 2 things by government. One is that it's not practical to maintain the old EU package travel directive to give a refund within 2 weeks. That act was brought in for a very valid reason of consumer protection, but it's completely impractical now to expect us or anybody else in the tourism and travel industry.
It does raise all sorts of issues, especially if money is coming back at different paces from different suppliers. Of its nature, most of what a travel agent will sell will involve a flight, transfer and an accommodation package.
I would hope that the suppliers that we want to do business with in the future will have reached an accommodation with us within that time.
There is no guarantee that the airlines will follow the Department of Transport guidelines on issuing money back to the travel agents to refund to the customer. That does raise the question, when do you issue a credit note that is now legally binding?
The travel agents and tour operators haven't been getting refunds. Like some of the cruise companies haven't processed any refunds at all. So they're looking at 120 days, and the same with airlines. So the situation is that we can't give out what we haven't got back. So otherwise, you'd be giving out cash, and it's about cash right now at the moment. A voucher is protected, legally protected for the consumer. And I think that's a really important message as well, Eoghan. This is our time to actually highlight the fact we're licensed and bonded, and we put a lot of money into having that facility all over the years.
And an unexpected issue, the Department of Foreign Affairs Passport Service. Staff have been redeployed away from the service. Postal applications are no longer being accepted. Almost all applications nowadays are online. It could mean anyone with an expired passport could run into a little bit of a backlog once service resumes. And we've no idea when that will happen. Lots to play for in the coming weeks. Remember, June 15 is when Europe unlocks. Ireland will kick in probably a little bit later because of the 14-day quarantine, and on July the 1st, a reasonable service of flights out of Ireland to resume in a changed landscape. How changed? Major airlines have made it clear they don't want cabin baggage in the cabin, if that makes sense. Less handling, less contact, boarding in small groups and deplaning in small groups. Priority boarding and all those legacies of a former era will be forgotten for now. The new world awaits us. All we need to find out is when we can reasonably start travelling. My name is Eoghan Corry. Travelwrap is commissioned by the Irish Travel Agents Association. The views here are my own.